Alright, we are recording. We're in Going Medieval, cues provided by Tinsley PR. And, yeah, let's get to it. This has been there was a lot of news this week. I'm just looking over the news I've written up, although one thing I accidentally skipped over. We'll see if I put that in there. I'll try to. It's been a busy week. I was up quite late last night trying to take care of it all. Okay. I got one thing I can rant on, so I'll leave that for a little bit later. So let's go with the other thing. With the second thing. That was unexpected and not really great news. GOG has had to already make an adjustment to their game preservation program. Adding the condition that if something's no longer available, we can't sell it anymore. We're still gonna support it if it was part of the program. Because that is exactly what happened. Apparently, Activision Blizzard, or Microsoft Blizzard, let's just go with Blizzard, decided, yeah, hey, Warcraft 1 and 2, we want those delisted. So, coming December 13th, so in a week, you will not be able to purchase those two classic RTSs from GOG anymore. But GOG has stated, because they were part of the inaugural class for the preservation program, that they will continue to support them. Even though you won't be able to purchase them anymore, they will still be there. And they also gave a Make Warcraft Live Forever? I don't quite remember what the promo code was, but it I did use it to get the Warcraft 1 and 2 bundle, because I do want these two games. They are part of my childhood, especially 2. 2 more than 1, and 3 definitely more than 2. But that 3 isn't among those games. But yeah, so if you want, it saved me $2 on that bundle, so if you are at all interested in those games, you can get them from GOG and use that. That is written up in the Friday news items, so you can find it there, all the information there. What do I want to do here? Okay, I'm gonna turn these off. Kinda doubt that they need to be on. What else do I want to do? I don't want to keep working on the pit here. Clay pit. If I can get that better emptied out. That's just off. Yeah, those can all be turned off. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else to really mention with that. I mean, I guess you can talk about Warcraft 1 and 2 some. Warcraft 1 definitely, I'm trying to remember all of its history. I want to say it helped establish Blizzard as a major game studio, for one thing. It also, definitely and potentially more so Warcraft 2, helped establish the modern RTS genre. They are both very significant games when it comes to the industry and what was set up for what makes it successful, at least fantasy RTS. For modern or science fiction RTSs, Command & Conquer may win that against Warcraft. It still is that they're very important, and also a lot of this Warcraft 2, I want to say, did much more of the story stuff than Warcraft 1. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of sad to see any games become delisted or just no longer supported. So it's things like preservation are important, and fortunately, GOG is going to continue to do what they can for those two and others. But yeah, and I think what I was seeing was a lot of people saying, yeah, it looks like Blizzard just they're going to be releasing remasters of those games, and they just don't want the competition with the old games, which is a shame, but is a shame. That means you have to lose access to the old games. But yeah, is what it is. Especially because, I mean, I'm just trying to think. Have there been any? I feel like a lot of modern remasters have been like the Star Wars special editions. But yeah, you're adding stuff, and some of it looks pretty, but you're also messing with it. Not in good ways. Like, we didn't need some of these editions. Some of the editions damage the story. Like, I mean, legitimately. It's so annoying because my parents have the DVD of the special edition. I've got the Blu-rays, and there are even changes between those. And one of them is uh, at the end of Return of the Jedi. Big climactic moment. It originally was, just you had the music, the sound effects, that was it, and it was just the performance. Then the pantomime, if you will, performance for Vader with the Emperor, right? On the Blu-rays, they had James Earl Jones come in, or they just used part of a recording for him to add a no. And it's like, this actually really ruins the moment. Because it is more meaningful that it is Vader's more so just deciding to act and doing so instead of having to say something. Because to speak like that is actually like to reassure yourself, even as like he should just be acting. He shouldn't have to like convince himself by saying this. And it's also the whole the Emperor's right there. Why is he not being like, what did you say? Ah! Or whatever. I mean, it also like the Emperor isn't expecting what happens to happen. So you're kind of broadcasting something's about to happen. That's really, really dumb, really poorly done as well. So I feel like so many games that have been made are like that. So, but Lucas, there are versions, the unspecial editions or whatever they are referred to as, that do exist for the Star Wars movies, the original trilogy. But that is not as easily done with video games because of DRM, and also just, I mean, a DVD will still play in a DVD player. If you have a Laserdisc player, you can still play a Laserdisc. If you have film, you can definitely still use film. But a Windows 95 game won't run in like Windows 98. Or at least isn't a guarantee to, because 98 was when we got the NT basis, as I recall. So 95 to 98 is a huge change to the operating system, such that there's a lot that worked for 95 that would not work for 98. So, and Microsoft had, at least not to the same degree, they've not made a change like that since. I mean, they did redo all the driver stuff, which is, yeah, that was with Vista, as I recall. They changed a lot of that at Vista, and that's part of the reason why at launch it was so terrible. But the funny thing is, it was one of those, yeah, Microsoft made these changes, and they told everyone they were making these changes, and then none of the hardware manufacturers updated their drivers to work with it. So it was like, once some time passed, Vista actually was a much better operating system because the people outside of Microsoft finally got to doing the work they were supposed to be doing. Why are they not someone working on it? I'm gonna come down here. I'm gonna do a single mining action, and then I'm gonna leave, and then somebody else is gonna come in and pick stuff up. Oh god. Oh, this game is so dumb. The AI is so dumb. I am really hoping. I don't know when it is. It's supposed to be this month, I think. You know what? I'm gonna look. I am going to look. When is Titan Quest 2 supposed to be coming out? To early access. That's supposed to be around now. Do I have this on my wish list? I don't remember. I do. It is on my wish list. Good. Because that is a game that... Oh, okay. Somebody asked and just a response was sometime this winter. Yeah. Anyway. I mean, hopefully, because I would make the move over to that, but that would be more of a me personally wanting to play the game versus this, which is I'm doing this also to review it. What? I don't think clay should be making the noise of stone. Anyway. But yeah, because at least in that, hopefully the AI would not be that dumb. But then it is also, to be fair, this is, I don't know where you're going. I don't care. You're taking care of this now. I don't want a tree growing there. I'm sorry. Okay. Had a feeling to be picked up very shortly. And this still not... This is such a mess. And they should be embarrassed by this. I don't even know what it falls under. I guess technically construction. I mean, it just... I get that there's a lot more going on here, but going back to Warcraft 1 and 2, when I tell them, when I tell the peons, build that, they do. When I assign them to do something, like go into that mine and get me some gold, they do. Lee might end up getting trapped. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, it just, yeah. Let's move on to the next piece of news here. Which is definitely an interesting one. So, Intel CEO Pat Gelsinger has been retired. And it was all kinds of weird. Because apparently he retired effective December 1st. It was announced December 2nd. Which, yeah, that does kind of scream a... He wasn't... He did not retire, he was fired by the board of directors. Which is quite odd. It doesn't seem like Intel is in need of such drastic action. But, because that is drastic. To get rid of your CEO like that, it is drastic. But I did see Semi-Accurate, which I've seen them cover stuff like this for a while. I think that they're one of a number of tech news places. But they put out a piece that is interesting because they do straight up call out, no, that he was fired. That this is not just retirement. This is, they got rid of him. But their article, and I do link it in the Friday write-up, and I do recommend you go and find it. And if you look up Semi-Accurate News, well, Semi-Accurate Intel News, let's go with that. That may give a better shot at actually getting it, since Semi-Accurate is also a word otherwise. But anyhow, their argument is, for what's going on, is basically that the board is foolish, I guess is a way to put it. That Intel has long had a culture problem, is their explanation, and Gelsinger did a lot to fix that, okay? But the thing is that changing a culture problem can go against improving revenue, improving profits. Okay? Well, that's what the board cares about. They are interested in financials, not in yeah, I guess technically health of the company kind of stuff. I mean, I don't want to put it that broadly, but financials, as America points out, that's something that is like you look at year by year, or even sometimes smaller portions than that. While changing a culture, a work culture, can be like 3 years before you see that taking effect. And during those 3 years, you might not have good financials. And so you end up with this issue of you have a CEO who is doing the right thing, who's doing good things, but it's not looking good on certain reports, so we gotta get rid of him. And just, it's very, very odd and unfortunate. And it was also funny because somebody was even saying, I mean, it's like, because now they gotta look for a replacement, and the person that we are thinking of for it, there's no way she's leaving where she's working right now, so it's like, yeah, this isn't not going to get somebody who would be able to fill his shoes. So yeah, we will have to see what ends up happening with this. Currently, they do have acting co-CEOs. But yeah, it will also be interesting, just more broadly, because it is one of those things that I want to say it's a Friedman doctrine, but I can. It's not quite enough my area of expertise that I can't have it wrong. Can be misremembering, but it's basically the focus on the idea that a publicly traded company only exists to improve the value to the shareholders is a relatively new concept. Simplest way I think to put it. And it is a potentially dangerous one, because just because something is good on the financials does not mean is good for the company. And I wonder if this will just go down as an example of that. It does also depend, because who knows? There might be other things going on as well that we're not aware of, that Semi-Accurate doesn't have knowledge of. It might also be that whoever they pick will be fantastic. We do not know at this point, but it is still one of those things where it's like, this could be interesting to see what ends up ultimately happening, not just within Intel, but even in other places as well. If this does end up hurting Intel, because that would be a repudiation of that whole, well, no, we have to maximize shareholder value. It's like, well, no, you have to ensure the company is healthy. Because a healthy company should also therefore improve the value to the shareholders, because it is healthy. Whereas an unhealthy company, yes, you may temporarily improve shareholder value, but then the company is unhealthy and it collapses, so now the shareholder value is nothing. Short term versus long term, but short term it can be easier to measure, so kind of one of those things. Just trying to think what else. Intel also launched the B series of GPUs, so that's codenamed Battle Mage, which they're saying is gonna kick ass. I'll be honest, there's part of me that, if it hadn't been for the fact that I purchased so much stuff recently for different reasons, for various reasons, Christmas is coming up, kind of thing. I would have been tempted to purchase one, but it's also, I'm not actively reviewing at the moment, and I'll be honest, I legitimately feel right now that if I'm gonna start reviewing again, because I've got enough other things that I'm doing, enough other things that take my time, I'd want to review old games. And that's also not just that the modern games that I have no interest in, because there are some that do have my interest. There are definitely some that don't. It's just, I have such a backlog, and I feel with an older game, I could go a little bit more at my own pace. And just, I think that would be, if I'm going to start doing reviews more actively again, that will be easier for me to manage. manage my time. So, yep. And speaking of all that, I have seen, at least supposedly, good reviews for the Indiana Jones game. But I also have something else about it that pisses me off. Oh, and actually, you know what? Hang on, going back a beat to the whole, modern, some modern games I wouldn't be interested in. I just remember Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. We got its specifications. We got a new story trailer. It is behind an age gate. But we also got that they have moved up the release date a week. So it'll be February 4th. That is definitely a modern game I am interested in. I enjoyed the first one. I did. And I also got to review that. I enjoyed so I hope I will enjoy the second one. But that is definitely one modern game for anyone thinking that it's like, no, that is one I am interested in. Because, like, they get good faith from the first game. So I am definitely interested in that. Just give an example. And I guess if I were given a key for that, would I try to find the time to review it? Probably. But it is also, it's hard to say because I got priorities with work. I've got personal priorities like working on books. I've got other things. I mean, yeah. I keep very busy, which means sometimes things get harder to do. But coming back to the next point, apparently the upcoming Indiana Jones game, which is already out, I saw that there were some reviews that were favorable, very favorable, but I don't know. Let's wait and see, because that's also what happened with Dragon Age Veilguard, as I recall, that some of the initial reviews were very positive, and then it was like, yeah, no, wow, that's very stunted. And then it's like, yeah, now got into the hand of gamers, and they hate it. So, and there have even been some reviews, some review outlets that have actually, like, retracted their reviews. Or at least tried to issue some corrections to them. It's like, damn, that's not good. That's very bad. Okay, what the heck is going on? Why is no one feeding? And I can't... It should be steward. It legit should be steward. But I think it is animal husbandry. Okay. Wow. I still got a decent amount in here. No, actually, hang on. Go away. Go away. Go away. Go away. So, hang on. I just... Constructions... How... See, this is also part of the reason why I find this so annoying. Is that Patient 10 Convalesce only come up at certain times. Steward should cover way more than what it is. And Hall doesn't come up all the time. Steward should be more common. But it's like, animal husbandry is here. Construction, there's nothing to build. Growing and harvesting, coming before animal. I mean, it's just... These are basically all chores. Or at least include things that are just chores. That's why they should be under steward. That legitimately is why they should be there. Not here. At least not separated out like this. Such that it's nonsense that I apparently need to do that. I apparently need to turn this up to 1. Because otherwise, they just spend all the time growing and harvesting food instead of feeding the animals. I was like, this is so freaking stupid. Please Titan Quest 2 come soon. So I can just go to that and be probably equally frustrated. I hate the fact that that's going to be true, but it almost certainly will be. Oh, son of a... Yeah, I forgot that would happen. that is high construction, so... Although, oh wait, no, never mind. The Lee's rebellious, so... I couldn't tell them to do it with the wood pile there. Anyway, yeah, apparently, the new Indiana Jones game requires ray tracing. The hell? What? What? I am so very confused now. I mean, I really, really hate how this game does so much shit. I do remember when I selected this, I was even wondering, why is it suggesting that some have angles? It's like, apparently it was deciding that these, when I'm, focused down here, should also select up here. Why? I have no idea. Because that wasn't sufficiently in the view. In my opinion, that wasn't. But it also, they need to have a concept of contiguous selection in here. Contiguous and non-contiguous. And also the ability to, like, say, hey, I want to select all of that type. No, you can't do that. I mean, I'm sorry, it's just, it is going to be so interesting when this gets to 1.0 and I review it. Because there's so much shit that I have a feeling I would inevitably end up having to write so much just arguing about arguing for the point that it's not that the game is necessarily bad. It's that they should have at some point decided, you know what? We have overbuilt so much stuff in here that is incoherent. All right, as in it does not agree with itself. It is interfering with itself. Because this bullshit right here, no, it should not have, by doing that, started selecting. Why is it selecting over here? Because I said, I can't even see that. All right, it is not visible. And it's not, I don't think that's an option. Wait, no, I mean, it has to be something in here. Not under settlers. Expand and shrink zone. Yeah, these are referring to special interactions with zones. So that's... Yeah, I mean... This is not something that you can do. You cannot tell it just select in these items in this area. And it's like, that's something that they should be doing. We don't need... Can I see it? No, I can't. But you know what? I'm just angry enough. I'm frustrated enough right now. I'm good with doing this. Come on. Finish saving. We don't need this shit that's coming that badly. All right? What we do need is basically cancel, or not cancel. I'm just angry, so I'm using the word cancel. But basically, postpone all this shit. We don't need this. Focus on quality of life improvements. And the sad thing is, I legitimately do feel, and if it doesn't end up happening, I suspect I will end up having to write a significant portion of the review just talking about how this game needs a complete rebuild. Like a stop what you're doing, step back, say version 2, all right, and rebuild this stuff to make sense, all right? Rebuild it so that now you can select just what is contiguous. You can select everything of a specific type, right? So that when you, and also make it so if you select like a single brazier, have a keystroke where you press and hold that, and then you double click or something, and it selects all those. Instead of, I'm double clicking and trying to select all of the braziers. And instead it decides, oh, you're not trying to select the brazier, you're trying to select the flooring that's underneath it. No, I'm not. Oh, you're trying to select the plant that's nearby. No, I'm not. I'm trying to select every brazier in the area. It's like, this is obvious. And that's a quality of life improvement. But that's not even... I mean, that is so major quality of life improvement at this point, because it's been so long that this problem has existed, along with what just happened here, where apparently I ordered things to be demolished without even being able to see them at the time, without knowing that was the case, and having no reason to know it was the case, or suspect it was the case. Well, except for yes, I did see that the border was off there, but it's like, that's just that's weird kind of thing. I didn't know why. But it's like, huh, okay. Why would I think that the thing that is not in view would be impacted by this? I mean, something where it's like contiguous select versus non-contiguous, full screen select. It's like, these are things that should be here. We don't need fire and flammability, but that's coming. We don't need mounted siege weaponry. We don't need raiding of the settlements. We don't need grand objectives. We don't need natural caves. We don't need ruins. We don't need more structures. We don't need more music. We don't need more map. Okay, more map types wouldn't be bad. We definitely don't need more resources. Holy shit. I'm sorry, because it's just one of the other things is the tech tree is nonsense. You have things that are gated that aren't... You have things that are functionally gated by one item on a tech tree. But those things that are gated are not behind that thing on the tech tree. They're in other places. I mean, it's... That whole thing needs to be reflowed. And I get the whole, oh, well, we don't want to, wipe people's saves. It's like, look. There's a time when you have it so screwed up you have to. There's a time when you have to throw out your draft and start over. Hopefully you figure that out only a few chapters in instead of, nearly at the end. But still, sometimes that's what you gotta do. Yeah, more research items, more siege weapons. I mean, no. It is a chore to do some of the stuff in this game that should be easy, that should be second nature, and it's not. Okay? Or at least give us the frickin' options. And I'm just part of this is also like one thing that I can talk about. This isn't on my notes, but it's still I can talk about it. Satisfactory, that game. For however many years now, they have, kind of as a joke, kind of not, had a Fixmas event. Because in the game, you work for the company Fix-It. So Fixmas, right? That started. Because it's December, that started in the game. And this is the first one since it reached 1.0. But I've been playing that game since, I think, 0.3. They made a lot of quality of life changes that were actually substantial. There was also a number of things that they didn't even tease was coming, and then suddenly we got version 1 and they're in there. Okay, it's like they handled it so much better, and they did a lot of quality of life changes. I do not imagine that they would, that the way that they would have done that would, I cannot imagine that the developers at Coffee Stain who've been working on Satisfactory would allow some of the stuff that happens in this game, and to wildly different developers, like different locations, different cultures, different engines, all that. Okay, I get it. But it's just to use an example of another game that was in early access for years. I think Satisfactory is older. I could be wrong, but I think it might be older than Going Medieval. And I can also believe that Satisfactory, that Coffee Stain had more money going to it, so it could had more resources behind it. I can believe that as well. But it's just... They would change things, and they did plenty of times. And this, I feel, it's like you're trying to build on top, but your foundation is weak. You need to stop building on top of that foundation and go in and start fixing the damn foundation. Son of a bitch. I mean, the job system is so messed up. I mean, you know what would be very interesting? And I have no idea. I do believe you can't do it via mod. Which, there would be that part of me, and I mentioned this before with the context of Titan Quest 2. That what developers need to be not afraid to do is abuse their players, especially in early access. The example I gave for Titan Quest 2 when I was talking about this was they are changing how the health potions work. Where basically they go into Path of Exile instead of Titan Quest. And that annoys me, because Titan Quest system works fine, and there are advantages to it over the Path of Exile version. Okay? But they're going Path of Exile. There's that, and it's like, that is such a major change. I would never have, like, if I were working there, I'd be like, no, we're not making this change without player input. We are putting this out using Titan Quest 1. And then we ask them if they want to go to Path of Exile. We're not making that change. That is too large a change. Okay? And it is also the whole, when I did that, going through that dev diary thing on Titan Quest 2, I was talking about how, okay, is this Titan Quest 2? Or is this, like, is this a game from Titan Quest 2? Or is it Path of Exile that I'm playing? Or is it Diablo that I'm playing? It's like, I want to be playing Titan Quest. I want a new version of Titan Quest. That's what I want. And it says it's Titan Quest 2, so that's what I expect. Don't give me Path of Exile. Don't give me Diablo. Okay? But what I talked about as a solution there was the idea that if it's an early access, you can decide for 1 month. Let's say 1 month, because that should be enough time. You just forcibly change it. It was like, you start off with the Titan Quest version, and then it's like, you ask for people's opinions. A lot of people will say no, just because they don't necessarily like change. Or maybe they love Path of Exile, and so it's like, yes, please make it like that. So then you're like, okay, we're just going to, for 1 month, we're going to force everyone over to using this other design. That hopefully is well enough balanced at that point. I mean, yeah, you'd still have to tweak some balance, but you didn't do that. But you basically just force it on the players for 1 month, and see what the reactions are. So those people that are like, no, I don't want this change, they might start playing and be like, okay, you know what? I get this. I like this. Because now they have the experience with both. But also those who might love Path of Exile and were like, yeah. But now that, yeah, well, I really like Titan Quest, so I'm getting used to this other stuff. You might change it on them, then they realize, oh, I hadn't realized how much I was actually using the health potions in the Titan Quest style. I didn't realize how beneficial that was compared to the Path of Exile for how the game is designed for Titan Quest 2. It's like, you could see that, you could experience that. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with doing that. In early access. When the game's out, no, you don't do that. Because now it's a basically bill of goods for what you're offering. You can't suddenly change that. But early access, it is allowed. I do believe that you are allowed then to do some stuff like that. And I feel like some of this, that's what they need to do. And the thing I was about to say, before going on that tangent to explain the context, is it would be fascinating if they decided, you know what? The job system works, throwing that out. Is now every single action you can make the groups for. Like I was talking about a chores thing. Like feeding the animals should be a daily chore. And imagine if you could do that. If it was like, you know what, I'm just going to group everything together that's considered a chore. Like, it must be done every day kind of thing. And you can just make your own group and set your own priority for that. Or maybe even, a schedule where it is like, no, this must be done every day. Or even twice a day. Maybe it is you feed the animals twice a day. I would not be surprised if they did that and they found, and if they looked at metadata and were like, oh, holy shit, we didn't realize we have stuff in such nonsense positions. Like, what the whole, why do we have this chore type thing with animal husbandry? Why do we have the, just feeding the animals has to be tied to also slaughtering them and petting, and not petting them, training them. Why is that tied in there? When growing, which is also kind of a chore-like behavior, you have to go there. I mean, think about a farm that is growing both plants and livestock of some kind, whether it's, say, cattle, pigs, or even sheep or goats. It's like, there's certain things you're doing every day, and they're not slaughtering every day, they're feeding every day. Why would you have slaughtering the same priority as feeding? So you would, and especially if it were a dairy farm that also has plants there, you're maintaining both every day. So why the things that you don't do every day part of that group? That makes no sense. So I can believe that, yeah, if they broke out every single activity, which would be a long list, and let the players decide how they should be grouped, and even setting some kind of schedule, setting some kind of separate priorities to them, with not this 5+1, but no, everything can have its own priority if you want. I could absolutely believe that if they did that, they would find that, holy shit, no one is using the groups that we made. No one is using those defaults because they're dumb. And it's like, that's a quality of life improvement, though, to reshuffle that. But I could believe they're like, no, we can't because everyone is so used to it. It's like, no. We're early access players. You can abuse us and say, you know what? I know you put in all that hard work, but I know you've gotten used to the system as it is, but we need to change it because we don't think this is where it should be. And we need to get somewhere. And not for technical reasons. Not well, we've changed the save systems such that now that gives us greater things going forward. But, for a time, you might not be able to it's like, if you don't convert your saves, you're not going to be able to play them anymore. Or once you convert them, you can't take them. Not a technical reason like that. Just a straight up, no, we realize that this isn't how we want it to be. This is not how it should be. The foundation is weak, and we're trying to build on top of this, and we can't do it that way. And we also feel it negatively impacts your experience. That's fine. You should feel free to do that. Right? Or at least have that conversation. But this game, it doesn't feel like they're doing that. It feels so much like it's now we built it this way, so we're just going to stick with it. And it's like, the way it's built is stupid. It is frustrating. It is confusing. It is not providing benefits that it should, and it's providing frustrations that it shouldn't. So the thing I was going to talk about with Indiana Jones, I even have that labeled in my notes. It's rant time. You just got my rant. The thing that was going to be rant time is apparently every system spec, every system requirement for that game, like minimum all the way up, requires ray tracing, hardware accelerated ray tracing, which I hate. Just generically, I hate that, because I in no way believe that ray tracing is where it should be. To be anywhere near that, right now it should still be considered a curiosity, in my opinion. I do believe it is also doing some damage to the industry, the heavy focus on it, that you're seeing engines designed with ray tracing in mind, such that it's not just and I've had rants like this before, where it's not just oh yeah, we're making it so that you can't turn on ray tracing. It's no, we're changing fundamentally how the engine functions to enable ray tracing. Because some engines are now so heavily invested in temporal systems that something like multi-sampling for addressing spatial aliasing, that and super sampling. Well, super sampling is the best way to address spatial aliasing. There is no competition, period. Nothing comes close, okay? Multi-sampling is the best alternative to super sampling because it does things to be a hell of a lot more efficient, okay? So that's the closest. There is nothing else that touches either of those for quality. But a temporal engine, a game engine that heavily relies on temporal rendering, doesn't really work with that. Okay, I mean, if you look into the paper for SMAA, subpixel morphological anti-aliasing, though I prefer to enhanced subpixel morphological anti-aliasing. That's right. I knew there was something else. Enhanced subpixel morphological anti-aliasing. I prefer to call it filtering because it's not really anti-aliasing. But anyway, one thing it talks about in there is one thing they wanted to improve the morphological filtering with was supporting more than one sample position, because it doesn't normally work with multiple samples, which is what MSA and SSA offer. They also made it so it works with temporal samples as well. But it still is, it's just filtering. It's not actually improving the amount of data. Well, from what I've seen, everything is going to, no, we're just always going to be using temporal samples. So we now have to do reprojection stuff and filtering there, which can produce ghosting and other artifacts that are very annoying to see constantly. That MSAA, it functions in such a different way. You can't, it doesn't happen there. But it's like, nope, we're just not doing that anymore. It's like, why? It's a very good technology. But it's like, oh, but ray tracing. It's like, who needs it? I was like, the way I would put it is, rasterization is an approximation of optics. Ray tracing is supposed to be a simulation. It's not, but let's just say let's go with it's supposed to be. So ground truth is 100%, right? So like if this were a real scene, 100% is, reality is 100%. Fine. Maybe ray tracing has you at like 95% there, right? Let's say that. That's not even remotely accurate. Plenty ray tracing looks like crap. But let's just say it's at 95%. And rasterization, oh, well, that's only an approximation. So really, we should be trying for the simulation. It's like, okay, yeah, it's approximation. That's at like 90 to 92% or 93%. Because it was worked on for decades, has been iterated on for decades, has been optimized for decades, and has had various things added to it for decades. I mean, it's, the way some people talk about ray tracing, it's like the only way we can have shadows is with ray tracing. It's like, we've had shadows with rasterization for decades. What are you talking about? Shadows are absolutely achievable. Reflections, absolutely achievable. Look at Hitman 2. The shadows in that actually look pretty damn good. And ironically, because I was just crapping on temporal systems, it's using a temporal system. I managed to figure that out after I'd done the anti-aliasing article and was looking at the reflections and experimenting with the settings in Hitman 2. It's like, oh, I know what they're doing here. And it's actually very clever. But it's all rasterization, and it looks great. And it doesn't tank performance like ray tracing does. It's like, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I think I have this conspiracy theory that the reason why NVIDIA first pushed for the hardware accelerated ray tracing, or rather ASIC ray tracing, because you had hardware accelerated ray tracing for a while. GPUs have been accelerating ray tracing for many years, long before the RTX series. Anyway, I legitimately do think, I do believe in this conspiracy theory that occurred to me, is that the reason why we got that ray tracing stuff was to, you're getting rant out of me anyway, sorry, it is to justify the $1,000 to $1,500 GPU. Because that's the only place where you can put enough ray tracing performance for it to actually have an impact, with visual impact, without it tanking game performance. That if you excluded that, if you didn't have ray tracing anymore, you'd be fine with $500 GPUs. But the margin is too small there. And even then, $500 GPUs for top end, alright? But the margin isn't great enough there, so they have to justify the higher pricing somehow, and that's what they end up going with. And and it's just, I see that as it has harmed the larger games industry, because now it's got everyone trying to go to ray tracing, such that Indiana Jones requires ray tracing. Now, true, I've not looked at anything for this, because I'm not very interested in the game. I don't trust a major property like that to be reminiscent for me of the classic movies today. I really don't. Yeah, but it's just like the whole, if I install and start playing Just Cause 3, that's a good looking game and it runs great. If I install and start playing The Witcher 3, that's a good looking game and it runs well. It's not necessarily running great, but for what it's showing, for its visuals, because our visuals are better than Just Cause 3, it still will run very, very well. It's like, neither of the games have ray tracing. They're great. They're amazing games, and they're also very often on sale at very low prices. Like, seriously, I recommend both those very highly. I mean, both of those are, from me, in my review categorization stuff, the recommendation categories, both those would be 4, okay? With 3 is just a solid recommendation. 2 is I recommend, but, it's like, I had fun, but there are issues with the game. 4 is no, you gotta play this game. Just Cause 3 and The Witcher 3, in my opinion, are both 4s. They're so good. Don't require ray tracing. Look great. Run great. Why are we focusing on this technology that means you have to have a more expensive GPU? And Indiana Jones is an example of this. Now, granted, I do need to grant this. Ray tracing is old at this point. Well, the RTX series is getting old at this point. And I think it was even like when the 20 series, so the RTX like 2060 Super, I think was one of the things that I saw mentioned for it. I might be thinking something else though, sorry. Which, yes, that is older. That's fair. That's true. So you might be able to argue, oh, but with seeing now that it's saturated the market, it's like, yeah, but you're still forcing the player to have to use this technology that isn't necessarily producing a better visual, is hurting performance, such that then you need to turn on things like DLSS or FSR or XeSS that you're now not at native resolution anymore. So you're using a lower quality rendered image that is being extrapolated up. So you're no longer looking at ground truth anyway. So it's like that simulation. The whole ray tracing is simulated and 95%. Yeah, except that to get at playable frame rates, you're actually working with a low resolution image that's then being upscaled. So you're not even at 95% anymore. You might be now down into like 85% because of that whole thing. So now you actually ending up behind rasterization, behind the approximation, because the approximate result is so performant. You don't need to do those gimmicks. I mean, it's just in the search for shiny things, we're getting garbage. We're getting polished turds instead of things that might not be as shiny, but are themselves beautiful and more resilient, more robust, more desirable. So yeah, you got 2 rants from me today. Aren't you lucky? Anyway, I will stop now. I know I've been ranting on quite a while, but it's just, stop giving me things to rant about. Why are you doing this to me? I'm gonna be ranting so much when Titan Quest 2 comes out. I just know. Actually, hang on. Let me check something. I was about to say see you next time. Yeah, next time's reasonable. The next 2 weeks, I'm not sure. So that's the 21st and the 28th. I don't know. One, because it's Christmas. Christmas week and weekend. The other, I actually have jury duty coming up. And that may impair my ability to do this recording. I don't know. We shall see. I might get lucky and not actually be seated, because it's the week before Christmas. But at the same time, yeah, and I could believe that they don't want to see people if they don't have to, especially that week. But at the same time, it might be everyone is being like, I can't. Can you postpone my jury duty until after that? I might be one of the few people that's actually willing to show up. So I got no idea. But is the 21st and 28th, was it? I closed the calendar. Yeah, 21st and 28th might not have something. I don't know. We'll just have to see. But next week should be good. See you then.